This is probably the one time in this gun's history that, but besides the first time we fired it, that I literally have no fucking clue what's about to happen.
Oh, we know it's not going to blow up.
Well, we know it's not going to blow up.
So, we need to talk about the AK-50. The last significant bit of progress you guys saw was the big video, Building the Behemoth, which is still one of my favorite videos we ever did. That was September of 2017. That's when we got the AK-50 fully hardened, gassed, and cycling, where it was pushing the bolt carrier all the way back to the rear, extracting the cartridge out and ejecting it, and then going back forward into battery. That was fucking huge for us because that proved the entire concept, that proved the AK-50 was possible to do it the way we wanted to do it. Basically, that was our big fuck the haters moment. This AK-50 is doable, and we're going to see it through to production. So after that, about a week later, we had modified a lot of the part files. We actually had done a little team up with the SaberWorks 13 guys to put a KOP mount, like the dust covers, a sliding dust cover onto it now. We did a lot of really cool shit to it. And I'm sorry you guys haven't gotten to see that yet, because what happened next was a little bit of a clusterfuck. As we said at the end of the video, we wanted to show it off again at the, actually, this right here, the NFA Review Expo in December. The machine shop responsible for taking us to that point kind of beat around the bush a little bit, and we ended up missing that. But we ended up taking the gun anyway. We were having a little bit of issues with it because it wasn't extracting and ejecting, because we had a experimental extractor we had on it that was just kind of shit, frankly. We never hardened it, and it didn't really do its job, so that's just kind of a mulligan. We did let people other than me shoot the gun, which was really freaking cool. Top Shelf Tactical shot it, Adam from NFA Review shot it. Like, it was a really, really cool thing to have people who aren't me shoot my gun and not be totally afraid for their lives. Still, that was December. So what the fuck has happened since then? Well, back in November-ish, December, that machine shop that we were using that actually did all of our V1 parts, and actually did a really good job on it, they told us that it should be ready around late February, which I wasn't thrilled with, but that was kind of the cards we were being dealt at the time, and I didn't feel like getting the parts requoted from another shop or anything like that, so we just kind of, we went with it. And so, late February rolls around. This is after SHOT Show. I was telling everybody we'll have it in about a month, right? Late February rolls around and I don't have my parts yet. So I'm starting to ask questions like, what's the deal? And then we get to about mid-March where I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? And I show up and we have a sit-down meeting, and they have 3 parts done. They have the gas block, the gas tube, and the barrel extension, which is notably missing all the fucking parts we need to fire it. The receiver, the bolt carrier, the bolt. We're just missing a lot of shit. And they basically said, oh yeah, our timeline was a little optimistic. We can be done probably at the end of summer. And I proceeded to have a panic attack, followed by multiple thoughts of suicide, and crying myself to sleep for about a week. So, long story short, that was a massive setback. That was a punch to the balls for this project. Considering we were supposed to have a firing functional V2 by like end of February, beginning of March, and now all of a sudden we're mid-March and we don't have jack fucking shit, that really hurt. That really, really, really hurt. But, as with just about everything with this project so far, that ended up being a massive blessing in disguise. Because we figured out, just by testing our V1, that we had a couple of problems that we hadn't really addressed in the V2 properly. I'll go into those in a second, but basically what that means is that we would have spent a lot of money machining the V2 the way we had it in the computer, just to realize that we would have had the same fucking problems we were having on the V1. We wouldn't have done anything to have really addressed those, which means we would have had to go back and do a very, very costly... These prototypes are costing me about $16,000 a piece, by the way. Okay, I don't have a $5 million Mossberg budget. This is whatever I can scrape together on the side from investment, whatever I can put into it personally. $16,000 is a lot of money, and having to do that a third time probably would have bankrupted me. That probably would have been difficult. So the blessing in disguise is that we were able to test and address some of these problems in the V1 before we were locked into a V2 prototype that a shop was doing. So really, in a way, I will play the I'm pissed off card, but it saved our ass in the long run. So things just have had a way of working out in this project. Stuff like this has happened before, and it's just like the stars are aligning for the AK-50 to actually make it to market. So what does that mean? Basically, some of the problems that we've been having in the V1 was, one of which was soft heat treat. Our parts are still a little softer than I wanted them to be, so we're bumping that up in the second one. The biggest problem that we've run into is the camming lug. Let me actually go show you. All right, so let's get those out. Also, for the people who talk shit and said I couldn't use standard or PSL recoil springs and handle 50 cal recoil, go fuck yourself. Oh, it's all in math. It's all in the gas. So, I was right. You were wrong. Got a buffer in the back. There's such a huge variance in 50 caliber ammo, especially while we're testing. We want the back of this trunnion to last as long as it can. So we're just using a plastic buffer just to give it a little bit of leeway, especially before we figure out where the gassing is and everything. We might do an adjustable gas block in the future. Not sure how we're necessarily going to address that 100%, but we'll see if we need it. So the issue that we're having is in the camming lug here. If you can, I didn't need that spring anyway. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to get that now. So if you take your standard AK at home, you'll notice that the action of this is extremely similar. This is a camming groove, which is the part that this piece on the bolt, if you look at your AK at home, it's very similar, rides into in order to get it to turn. So it's a very AK action. So that's straight. That's how it's going through the receiver until it hits the face of the barrel, and then it allows it to rotate back and lock in the barrel extension. So the problem we were having is that for some unknown reason, we couldn't really figure it out, the camming groove was getting the shit beat out of it. We weren't sure if that's because it doesn't have enough contacting surface, if that was just too small of a lug. We're doing all these variables, like is it overgassed? Do we need to move the gas system? We're running all these calculations as to how can we fix this. Some of it I think is because, like I said, our heat treat is kind of soft. So if you have too much pressure, too much metal on metal action happening there on soft metal, it is going to warp. But that was still a little bit too much warp for me to feel comfortable with, especially since we have only a couple of dozen, a little more than that, but just a fairly low round count in here. That's pretty concerning. So what I ended up figuring out is that we were not getting a full bolt rotation. We thought we were, but we weren't. What we thought was free play, and for example, free play, and take your AK at home, is how much the bolt carrier can move backward without starting the bolt unlocking process. So it's just on your AK, it's down here at the bottom, this extra space before you get to where it starts to turn. So what that basically allows is that the bolt can already get some rearward momentum before it starts to unlock the bolt. And it's put there for a couple reasons, but I won't really get into that too hard right now. So what we figured out is that what we thought was our free play was actually the tolerance. Let me pull this out one more time. Was actually the tolerance in the side of the camming groove at the very bottom. We thought we were getting a full bolt rotation. In reality, we were getting about 95% bolt rotation, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but that's not awesome. So our free play was actually just the tolerance there. And that's one of the reasons I couldn't explain that mark. There's a little divot there from where it's deforming at the bottom of the camming groove, and I couldn't explain that. Now I can. We weren't getting a full bolt rotation, so we weren't even getting into our free play. So that's causing undue wear on the camming lug, which it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because that's one less problem that we had, because we never really gave this a fair shot. The parts are deforming because they never really went together properly. Novice mistake, but I'm glad that we don't have to do a major overhaul of the bolt camming groove, camming lug design. How did we fix it? Yesterday we were in Chris's shop. Fuck me. Also, quick interruption. The dog started barking and the ammo got here. So we took the ammo. It's the last thing we were waiting on. That's why we were filming at the house. Took the ammo. We're on our way to go test it now. But let me backtrack a little bit. So how we fixed it, we went to Chris's shop. So I don't know how well you can hear me, but one of the things that we're doing here is Chris is actually milling away some sections of the bolt carrier that are preventing it from traveling further forward. Hopefully that's going to correct the issue that we have with the bolt not fully going back and seating into the camming groove. And he's really damn good at it for a manual machine. So let's see if this solves our problem.
Oh wow, did you see that movement? Look at that.
That's a shit ton more play.
That is a lot of play right there.
All right, let's measure how much. Oh, yes.
Oh, dude, it's all the way back.
Oh, yeah.
It's
actually right where it should be.
It's actually right where it should be. You see, the rotation's even more now. Mm-hmm. We have full rotation on the bolt, which is what we didn't have before. That's just kind of fucked up. But we have full rotation on the bolt head. So that's that right there. What we've done right now will probably change the way this gun functions.
100%.
Hey Brandon, I need you to hold this for me.
Yeah. And we measured it out and we checked it. We are now getting a full camming lug rotation. The camming lug is going all the way to the rear, and we have plenty of free play before the bolt starts to turn now, which is awesome. So now we're going to test it, but there's a reason why this is a little fuckered, and this is why we're not 100% sure what's going to happen. So this has just been a whole system of trial and error. So we shortened up the piston. We actually cut it out and we pressed it into where it's got a nice proper press. It's a nice even surface, whereas before there was a little bit of a gap there because we weren't pressing it all the way in. So we fixed that. So the piston is now actually shorter, which means there would be more of a gas chamber inside of the gas block, which means less gas pressure. So that would mean it should undercycle. Well, in making the bolt carrier ride further forward, we addressed that issue by basically, because the bolt carrier goes further forward, now the piston is going to sit in deeper into the gas block. So it should be roughly, I guess, where it was before. We will find out. So there's a lot of variables that we changed all at once. We really have changed quite a lot. So let's see how it performs. This is kind of exciting for me because this is the first time since we fired it for the first round that I really have no idea how this is about to perform. This could be radically unexciting. I mean, it could hardly cycle. And then there's the alternative where it could cycle way too fucking fast because there's too much pressure inside that gas block. And it could hammer the shit out of the gun, and we will definitely stop testing at that point and figure out how to address that issue. So, long story short, this is going to be a really interesting day. What's going on, Chris? Set up our slow motion angle. My extra bit of cover just in case. Never know. Everybody good? You ready? AK-50 V1 test fire number 1 of the shortened gas piston and
Altered bolt carrier.
Yeah, altered bolt carrier. First test, full bolt rotation. 3, 2, 1. What'd she do?
It's still pulling off of the rim, so
Yeah, it's an extractor
I think
problem.
the extractor is just completely shot. We just probably need to make a new one.
So that taught us quite a bit. One of the things that was kind of irritating about that video is that the rear sight block actually got beat off the barrel. That was more or less just for show and to guide the carrier just a little bit. That was actually ripped off of our aluminum prototype, so we just put it up there as a mock-up. So we're going to run another round. I think what it's coming down to is that our extractor is too small. We knew that. We fixed that on the V2, but we'll see if we can't mill out this bolt here so we can continue to test for a bigger extractor. And hopefully we can adjust that gas system a little bit so there's a little more dwell. There's a couple of things where we're trying out. This one's really just for fun. AK-50, bolt modification, blah, 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 blah. Test round 2. Yeah, I forgot to put the tire behind it. Yeah. We should have put some Dicam or something on it. Couldn't think of it, but you know, we'll do it next time. The extraction is really going to tell us what we need to know. Because if we factor in picking up that cartridge, pulling it out and throwing it out the side, and it's still moving exactly the way it is now, perfect.
So
That is perfect.
I'll get that extractor done.
Cool, man. It's a good day. Nothing blew up. All things considered, that's more than I can ask for. Whenever we're out here, there's never really a depressing vibe. I don't think we've ever come away disappointed, even though today wasn't necessarily a raging success. Everything worked just the way we wanted it to. Let's put 1 million into production. What we do find out every time is we find out if we fix the last problem that we have, which in this case I think we did, but we found the new problem, which in this case is the extractor, which to be fair, we kind of already knew was a problem. But the idea is we always come away finding the new thing to fix. You know, we identified the problem, now let's fix it. So there's always a path forward. It's moving forward toward the objective of having this thing completely functioning the way it's supposed to. And even though it may look slow, and it may look like, okay, well that looked the same as the last 3 tests. We just fixed, 47 different problems within the gun. Now we just have to find the next 48, fix all of them, and then figure out what goes wrong from there, fix that, and just keep fixing until the gun is absolutely flawless. Which, I mean, it takes some time. I have a newfound respect for people who are bringing products to market, I'll tell you that. There was a time I thought I could get this gun done in a year, and having no engineering experience, no experience in firearms, I see now how incredibly raging optimistic and downright just retarded that was. But now we've got a much better idea. I've got a solid team behind me. I could not be happier with the results today. So, on to the next thing. Alright, so I'm not letting you off the hook that easy. I know this is becoming like a long video. Do you guys like these long videos? A lot of this video is just me explaining what had happened. I know we didn't get a lot of that on video. A lot of that was private meetings and stuff like that. But do you guys like this longer form video? Because, I mean, I'm an open book. Realistically, there's nothing in the AK-50 project that I'm not willing to share with you guys. Because as far as I'm concerned, you guys are along for the ride with me. And that's always been like the really cool part of these videos, is I can kind of take you through the development. Instead of just being a company that's coming fall of 2018, I get to take you through this, and it feels a lot more personal because you get to see what we did, what we're doing, make suggestions, and I've enjoyed that quasi-relationship. So if you guys like these longer videos, let me know. If you want to keep it more succinct, also let me know. So tell me what you think. But anyway, the path forward on this one, what we're going to go home and do the slow motion videos that I think are probably going to be in this video that I took with my iPhone. We took it from the side, and we take it from just about the same angle every time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home, probably watch those 20 or 30 times, slow it down a little bit extra. I think we got it at, it's 120 frames per second. Slow it down to each individual frame and see exactly what's happening, measure the speed of that bolt carrier, how it's going back, and compare that with videos in the past that we've done from where we had it ejecting great, and from most recently where that extractor was riding over the casing and just shooting the bolt carrier back. So we're going to find out exactly what's going on, and meanwhile, Chris is going to be milling away a deeper slot in the bolt so we can put a bigger extractor in and harden that, of course. So hopefully that makes for better extraction. We get extraction on every round, ejection on every round, and we can see about working on 100% return to battery and then feeding from a magazine. So this is exciting because now our path forward includes getting the rifle to feed from a magazine and pump out 5 to 10 rounds at a time, which would be a major step forward. And once we can actually get it to feed from a magazine, then we can just start working on cosmetics, and that's really the fun part, guys. So we're moving forward, and it's about to be a very, very interesting 6 months. So hopefully I can continue to share that with you guys. I've had a lot of deals on the business end of on the business end of things. I've had a lot of meetings and things I can't really talk about, but I can tell you that once we get this thing working and 100% functional, the future of the AK-50 is extremely bright, and I am very excited for something that you guys have been watching us develop for this long to become a mainstream gun that everybody knows about. So I'm really pumped, guys. It's going to take a lot to bring me down on this one, so it's been an absolute pleasure having you along with me for the ride, and if there's anything else you guys specifically want to see, please let me know, because I really want to show you. So, and if this has been, if you've enjoyed the video, you learned something, or it's just entertaining for you, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with a couple friends if you're interested. So, we love, my camera guy loves it when we get views, so it makes him feel like he's not wasting his time. So, appreciate it, guys. I'll talk to you later. But we did hold on. I know it hasn't. Wow. To allow further travel. Fuck me.